Hey guys, so in this video I'm going to show how to make two perspective brushes, the only perspective brushes you'll ever need, and then we'll go into setting up a PSD file in Photoshop to setting up how you can kind of quickly block out or sketch out comps and scenes. So let's start off by making a new file. I'm going to go with one that is about 2,000 pixels wide in this case, so if I break it up into four comps later on, that'll give me about 500 or so, maybe a little less, pixels for each image, and that's plenty to work with. So see, there's a fairly default one. I like this one, 72 DPI. I never go higher than that. No reason to if I'm working on a computer. And so for our first perspective brush, this one's going to simulate the a vanishing point. So we need this line tool right here. See, it's line tool. You want to make sure it's set to pixels. I'm in the upper top, and I'm going to start with a weight of about 4 and see how good that is. That seems like a little too thick, so we'll drop that down to 3. Yeah, that seems good. I think 2 to 3 is probably ideal. So what we need to do, I'm going to just start by drawing this straight down the center and then going off from the center from there, and basically just kind of doing the same thing all off from the center on 1/2 until I get to the top. The more careful you are at pinpointing your center, the more accurate or the less clumsy it'll look. So that's pretty good. See, that's all in one layer. I'm going to just duplicate that. And now transform and rotate that horizontally. And then match it up so there's no overlapping. Basically like that. And that's going to be our brush. I'm going to take the square marquee tool, right? Select the entire canvas. And what you're going to want to hit is the define brush preset button right here. So see, and that's going to make your first perspective brush. And that's going to basically kind of look something like this. Right, pretty nice. Instant vanishing points wherever you need one. Now the second and equally important one we're going to do is a bunch of horizontal lines. Some people may want or get precious about how equal in spacing these actually are. I generally don't bother. They're just going to be a series of lines. If you want them closer together, right, you can always skew or scale everything a little bit further like that. And once more, right, I could duplicate these and get a lot of ground covered like that. Repeat the same process. Select everything, hit edit, define brush preset. Right, so in action, that second brush is going to look like this. Right, pretty handy. So the added benefit of doing something like this is you can either make your mark and then rotate it like this for vertical lines, or you can just save out another brush like that. But you know, this is all we really need to do for two. And so generally the premise with the brush like this is that we establish our horizon line always first. Right, and they're saying like, oh, here's our comp, right? We'll frame it even. There's our horizon line. So how do we use that brush, you know, in particular? Because I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Oh, if we need a vanishing point right there, you know, like that works. That's self-explanatory. Now, the thing to remember when doing this, it's always good to put your vanishing point on that horizon. It just won't make sense, for those of you that are really not familiar with perspective, it just wouldn't make sense to have that floating way above or way below. So you may notice the tricky part is if we want a more natural shot where the horizon is really far off, right? we have to place it way out of the picture, and then we run short. So this is how that other brush is going to work. So let's put one horizon or one vanishing point right there. Right, let's switch gears. I'm going to make a new layer. We'll get back our other brush. I'll make this one purple just so it's a little easier to see. Right, we make our mark, and so the trick with this is, again, use the skew tool in Photoshop's transform options, and you can just drag this out off, you know, like that. And so see how there's like a middle handle? As long as that aligns with your horizon line, it perfectly simulates having a point being way out of shot and way off the comp. So you can adjust the perspective accordingly. And as long as that line, again, that's the most important part, runs across your horizon line, wherever that may be, it's going to work. Right, so to put this to full effect, I'll do 3-point vanishing points now. This one's going to be in green, just to show you the difference once more. Right, we make our mark, then we rotate it vertically, and then I'm just going to stretch it to fill our comp. And then to really give it the full effect, right, we're going to skew it up just a bit, just to give it a very natural sort of shot. You know, how the human eye perceives depth and life. And this is not necessarily perspective lessons, but it's how you can quickly set up a few Photoshop brushes to get your comp. So now you can basically get in over this, right? If, let's say, we were drawing a few buildings, right, because the latest brush loss challenge is rooftops. So it'd be very easy to get in here. So it'd be very easy to get in here and just setting up some basic buildings for your compositional setup and structure. Infinitely too. You can do anything with them, and again, these lines could go out like there, that could go like that, right, this could go like this, and very easy to set up a skyline using perspectives like this. Alright, so now that we have the perspective set up, let's show how we can set up a comp page now for efficiency. Basically going to fill a new layer with any kind of solid color. I'm going to use black to keep things clean and simple. I make a layer above that layer, and using the square marquee tool, I can fill that with a shape. It can be a horizontal shape, it can be a vertical shape, whatever shape you basically want to sketch within. And so I'm duplicating that now a few times so I can basically arrange and organize a little page. I'm going to just stretch these out so it can fit that real estate the best it can. And I hit Command or Control, you know, Mac or PC, on that layer as I mouse over it, and I can delete it on that black layer below. And so when I make a new layer that's below that frame, that's all we were doing, was building that frame. I can then go back in, turn that one perspective grid that I made, and I can move it around behind the various shots to kind of come. It's almost like a two-dimensional way of viewing different angles, you know, simulating looking through like a three-dimensional camera. It's the best way I do it if I'm not already in the 3D software. And of course, you can rotate the perspective if you want a dynamic sort of Dutch camera angle, and so on and so forth. So see, you can position the perspective anywhere underneath it, and then create a new layer in which you just start sketching, right, and drawing up your scene. So in this case, if I'm doing like a rooftop rumble, right, I can just really easily get in here and draw to my desire where I want things to play out. Erase that out. Here's my giant sort of billboard, right? Here's the rafters for this. And if, of course, if I'm sketching out most scenes, I keep them fairly simple and straightforward. So this would be, again, like the sign. There may be like a couple other elements right underneath that. There might be the letters in there, and there might be the external lights up here. We may show different pipes, right? And things coming to and from the foreground and the background. And so once more to clarify, this is not a compositional sort of lesson or talk. It's not even a perspective one, but it's just one technique I use to get in here and to kind of quickly block or rough out, or in a way sketch, my compositional scenes. So I'm just kind of polishing this up. As you can see, there's no sort of consistency to kind of how I'm doing this. I have like one reference of what a roof kind of looks like, and of course there'll be a lot of varieties of that, but I'm just drawing basically some fans, some pipes, what else are on a roof, antennas, maybe skylight windows I'm drawing here, just basic elements so that it almost looks like I know what I'm drawing. And then of course I could try my hand at doing a couple skylines for the roofs, and again that would change drastically depending on the type of city it is. Alright, so now what I like to do is copy that perspective folder so I can select everything else and delete it around that one for that comp, so I can just keep it. But now since I copied it, I still have it, so I can move it around and basically build another comp with that original sort of grid. So I could rotate it horizontally, I could flip it around, I could try shots where the perspective or the horizon line is far below, far above. Variety is what's awesome here. So I can constantly just change it up. So see, like that, a lot of that grid ends up falling well below this frame, but that in itself kind of lends itself to a really nice a creative approach to coming up with a shot design, is that I'm looking up, into this scene now. So here's like another kind of billboard thing. If I'm planning out a scene like this, I'm not planning so much what the lighting and what the overall value structure is of things. I'm just kind of having fun drawing a bunch of shapes that at this point just abstractly kind of represent building spaces, and therefore I might know, like if I'm drawing a couple characters fighting, I can vignette them within that sign shape, and so on and so forth. So like a little bit of planning ahead, but I like to treat a sketch stage like this as very non-committal, very kind of quick and destructive phase that I can just iterate ideas, and of course toss the ones that are not even close to heading in the right direction. So as I just repeated the last process of copying the perspective folder, now I can go back into the folder on this third shot and just move things, so I'm not using that exact same proportions for how those lines are set up. So again, it gives me slightly different shots. And if I kept going with this, there's no reason why within an hour's time, anybody, almost any skill level, couldn't just sketch out, 8 to 12 compositions, and then you number them, and you could decide, okay, these are my best 4, then progress those the best 4 to compositional lighting and value-based structure in that fourth. And not everybody kind of works this way, and I don't always work this way, but it's just one very easy way that some of you beginners out there, or some people just practicing composition and drawing perspective, this is a great exercise and a great simple approach, to the subject matter. Eventually, of course, I'd have to actually get tangible reference for a lot of these elements so I could draw them with a little bit more conviction and a little bit more accuracy. So I'm not just making up a bunch of these lines and shapes. Oh, this is the back of a sign. I don't know what the back of a sign looks like. I'd have to research it. But anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. Take care. I hope to bring you a video next week as well.